Hi everyone, it's Stephanie here and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be using the new Fantasy Floral stamp set, and I'm going to show you how I like to transform my flower stamps to work for the holiday season. So you can see when looking at this very large cluster is not really holiday related. I'm not a really big expert on flowers, so I'm not really even sure what type of flowers they are. But the great thing that I love about flower stamps is that with a little imagination, you can turn them into any color you want and for any season you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp out a cluster onto a second cardstock panel. You can see I created one card already, and I used a certain color palette that I kind of associate with the holidays. So I'm going to do another coloring of this cluster here, and I'm just going to kind of change around where I put the colors. So I'm using the exact same color palette as that first card, but I'm going to use the reds on different flowers and the turquoises on different ones, just to kind of make it look a little bit different. So I am going to speed up the coloring on the video just so that I can keep it all in and show you the way I'm coloring each of the leaves and flowers. I am only going to color one section in each color, and then I'll do the rest off screen so that we can kind of move along here and not take a super long time. I used a green combination that I love during the holidays. It's almost like a really kind of a turquoisey green, but still more on the green side. I then moved on to brown. I really like brown in holiday arrangements. I just think it's a really nice kind of pop of a natural color when you have all of these other colors mixed together. So I used those on all of those smaller pieces just so that it didn't overpower anything, and I definitely didn't want to have brown flowers. So once I had the greenery done there and then the brown areas, I moved on to the roses. Those I definitely do know. And in this card here, I colored them red. On the previous card, I colored these in the white color, so you'll see that when I put these side by side when we're finished. And you'll see as I do my coloring, I start out with a light color just to fully saturate the paper, and then I go all the way to a super dark color and add a lot of contrast into the leaves and the flowers. I'm really into this coloring style right now where you have that really dark area and then fade it off into the lighter area. I'm moving now into the aqua flowers, and I'm not actually sure if there is such a thing as aqua flowers, but in my imagination there is, and I really love aqua kind of in with that green and red for the holidays. So in the previous card, these flowers were done in the red shade. So for this one here, I'm going to do these in the aqua. These probably took me the longest because they are pretty big flowers and they have a lot of petals. And I really made a point to color each petal individually so that I could really get those darker areas and the lighter areas and make sure all of the petals stood on their own. And you can see as I'm coloring that I really go back and forth quite a lot. I do the lighter colors, the darkest, the medium, the light, the dark. I kind of keep going back and forth until I'm happy with the final result. I do find that once you add that first initial darker layer and then go back with your medium and your light shades, it does tend to lighten up the darkest color. So I always like to go back in and add a little bit more. So you can kind of see it come to life as I keep adding the different layers. When we first start, the color is super flat, and then as we continue to add all of the layers, that's what really brings definition to each of the petals and makes them look dimensional and almost makes them look like they're coming off of the page. I love how just doing some regular blending with your markers can really bring the floral images to life. So I'm going to finish off this flower here, and then I'm going to go, like I said, off screen and do the other one since these did take a bit of time. And then I'm going to go in and just grab some areas that I missed. I did a little bit of red coloring and a little bit more brown areas that I missed initially. And then the last flower we're going to color is this front one here. And this one I want to appear white, so I'm going to put some shades of gray around the petals. Now I'm doing a little bit more gray than I would normally do, and that's because I'm going to dot this whole flower to make it look like there's snow on it. And I do want it to appear like there's snow on the white flower as well. So I'm adding a little bit more gray than I normally would so that I have kind of a darker area for that snow to sit on when we add it. To finish off the white flower, I added a little bit of brown detail to the center just to kind of coordinate with the other brown areas that we added. And now we have a finished panel that has the same colors as that first panel, but we've moved around the color so that it looks a little bit different. And then you can see on the first panel, we have a lot of snow kind of sitting on the flowers. And to me, that's what really makes this a festive card. Where I live in Canada, it snows at the holidays and for a lot of months of the year. So I personally associate snow with the holiday season. So this part is totally optional. If you prefer not to add the snow over top, you definitely don't have to. Just the color palette alone helps to create a festive feel. But I personally love the snow all over the flowers. I just think it looks beautiful and really adds to the overall design. So to do the snow, you can do it two ways. You can just take a white paint and kind of thin it out with some water and kind of flick it over top of your flowers. And I do that on some cards depending on what I'm creating. But for this specific card, I did not want to mess up all of this beautiful coloring that I already did by getting big splotches of paint on it. So rather than have that happen, I just took a gel pen, and even though it took a lot longer to do, I had a lot more control and could just dot the snow all over the leaves and flowers. And I just made sure when I was doing it to make large areas, like little large circles, as well as just little small dotted circles, just to change up the size of them so it looked a little bit more organic and not so much like I had drawn them on. I also added a little bit of lines across some of the petals to make it look like snow was sitting on top. And then I just kind of kept going all the way around this entire piece until I had it fully covered. And I made sure to cover the lines of the stamps, everything that had any kind of color that would show the white. I made sure to add the dot detail over top. And I do have this sped up, but you'll see here I'm going to stop for a second and just show you the difference between the flowers and the leaves that we have the snow dotted on and the other side there where we have nothing on there. And you can see the difference that you have and kind of get an idea of what look you prefer. We have the just colored flowers on the right and the snow colored flowers on the left. So just kind of pick what you prefer. Since I did start with the snow, I'm going to go ahead and finish the panel. So I did that off screen since it did take a bit of time to do all of that dotting. And then once I have that done, all we need to do now is add our sentiment to the card. Now, since I am making these holiday cards, I'm using the Bitty Holiday Wishes stamp set to create my sentiment strips. And I decided to change up the color of the sentiment banner and the card base on this card. So rather than do the red card base and the tropical teal banner, I switched it up and did the red for the banner and the tropical teal for the card base. I also changed out the sentiment, and you'll see that here in just a minute when I add the banner on there. So here's a closer look at the two side by side. You can see the difference in the colors. Even though we have the same color palette, it completely changed the look of our card and just gave it a bit of a different feel. So now I can go ahead and add the sentiment banner on here before I put the panel onto my card base. This one here says Sending Love This Christmas, and I am going to add it to the panel the same as I did on the first card with just liquid glue. I decided I didn't want any added dimension to this card. I wanted to keep everything completely flat, but if you prefer a little bit more dimension, you can absolutely put foam adhesive in behind these banners. I positioned this in the exact same spot as that first card, pressed it down in place, made sure it was straight, and then I can go ahead and add my panel to my card base, which is an A2 size card measuring 5.5 by 4.25 inches. To add a little bit of detail to the white space around the flowers, I did add some clear droplets, so I'm going to go ahead and add those to the second card as well. And I just used liquid glue and tweezers to put those into place. And then once we have that done, we have two finished cards that use a regular floral stamp set, and we've turned it into a holiday card just by changing out the colors and adding some snow detail on top, as well as using holiday sentiments on the design. I hope today's video gave you some ideas on ways that you can turn your regular floral stamps into holiday designs, and I hope you'll give it a try on your next card project. Thanks so much for joining me for another video. As always, I appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks for watching.